everybody? Welcome back to the Burn Bootcamp Podcast. My name is DK, your host, and you are here, all right, with Kaytlan. Kaytlan is our amazing lead trainer from Rock Hill, and we can't wait to dive into her story. But before we do, you know the routine. You got to go leave a review. You got to flex on the subscribe button, and you got to make sure you get our numbers up. Tell them, Kaytlan, get our numbers up.
That's right. Get your numbers up. Let's go.
I just got my booty kicked by you at the 8, and then I trained 1 and then repaid the favor back to you.
Very much.
And we connected in our Q&A, and I really connected with you. I felt, how would you say, I really related to your story that you started to share, and I really want to dive into that because we're kind of cut from the same cloth, I think is a good way to put it in terms of like how we grew up. And I really want to dive in and get to know who you are, and I mean, your members like adore you. Like literally, I came to this location in 2018, prior to the world shutting down, and then now that I'm here after the world's opened up, I've seen the community grow. It's not only Amy, it's not only Hang, but it's you, and it's the team that's in place now, and you're clearly the leader of that team and take responsibility for that. And you know, I noticed you just have an amazing story, and I want you to tell it. I just want to start talking about it, but I want you to really be the one to share it with everybody. So why don't you, let's start here.
Okay.
Let's start with Burn Bootcamp journey, and then we'll go backwards in time, okay? Like just start with like the story of like the day you stepped in here until now.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was actually 3.5 years ago. I was living in Iowa. I was scrolling Facebook, knew I needed to do something. Let myself go, was about 300 pounds then, so about a little over 150 pounds heavier than I am right now. Was scrolling Facebook and all of a sudden saw 4 weeks for $69, and I was like, we didn't have a ton of money, but I was like, I knew I could do this. I had 2 young kids. They had free child watch. I was like, this is it. This is my answer. Walked in day 1. Head trainer at the time was Morgan, and it was like, I was home. It was just like this amazing feeling. I didn't question anything. Now I was silent. I was the person in the back of the room, hiding, not wanting to be looked at, not wanting to be talked to, and was just like, but I can do this. Like, I need to do something again for me because I took so long not doing that. And died my first day. We were actually doing a fitness challenge. I think it was Flex Your Fitness or something like that. And we had to do jump squats. I did 4, literally 4, and was like, I'm a failure. But they were so encouraging to me. And now 3.5 years later, I'm a head trainer at Rock Hill, and it's just a different story. I mean, it's just a different world than what I started at.
And you were an athlete as well, right? You played Division I sports.
I did. I had a
D1
softball scholarship, full ride.
So you're playing D1 softball. You get done playing D1 softball. Some of your identity goes. You end up getting to a place where you're overweight and not happy with that, and then you have the trigger, and then you just kind of snap back. What was it like? You snap back into athlete mode. Like you got your identity back. What was it? What was the reason?
Yeah. So it was actually my 4th knee surgery that took me out of softball, and it was just like, if I'm not an athlete, what am I? Right. And then ended up becoming a mom. Well, if I'm not a mom, what am I? And then it was burn, and then it was like, okay, no, I am this. And that competitive nature, like competitive within myself, knowing what I could do and what I could accomplish, seeing someone crushing it next to me, being like, okay, they can do this, I can do this better. Like, but that was my own personal thing. And so wanting to really focus on where I was at one point and just being like, I am a competitor, I am an athlete still. That is who a part of me, but I'm so much more than that. And then being able to lift my weight and then high five the person next to me, I was like, this is what I was built for. Right here, this is what I need. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna do a feedback loop with you, but I'll tell you on camera, I'm gonna pick on you a little bit, but it's gonna be like to the point where you have like the nuanced feedback where it's like, you know, you're just trying to get like 0.001% better, right? You're not trying to get like 10% better anymore. And, you know, that's like where the great athletes get to, you know, like if you see somebody swing and, you know, they swing and they hit and they top it or something and they hit a roll over, hit a ground ball, and then you see their coach whisper something in the ear and they had this, it looks like the same exact swing, but they put it off the scoreboard.
Right.
It's like, what changed? Well, it's like that person just deviated their wrist 2 degrees.
Right.
That's right. So like the small changes are going to make a big difference for you in this community in the long run. But I wanted to say this, that I had just an incredible experience. All of that energy that you had from Iowa till now, and just your own personal transformation. And really, it sounds like regaining some identity within and finding that in Burn and finding your team. Like I, in your camp, got all of that. I felt like all of that energy was transferred directly into my heart. it wasn't like you were trying to just be energetic for the room.
Right.
And y'all can hear her now. Like her cadence is very energetic, and it like gets everybody else around you going a little bit more. But it wasn't superficial, and it was like straight to the heart. And you really know how to like talk to people's heartstrings and get them to move. And you did that to me, so I did it back to you in your camp. You remember that? What'd I say?
Yeah, if your daughter was watching you right now, what would you do? What would you do? You wouldn't quit for her. And I'm like, you're right, I wouldn't quit.
And you had, 280 pounds on you at the time?
Something like that.
So it was I've had just a great day with you so far, and I want to make sure that we are able to kind of know all of you and who you are and how we got here. So why don't you zoom me back to the place where you think is appropriate to start, given your timeline and history of your life. And let's just walk me through some of the, obviously you had a lot of struggles growing up, coming up. Tell me what
and
those
that's
are like.
actually, so when I started doing research on gyms, I found your story. I found your book.
Oh, wow.
Is where it really kind of all started for me. And we had a very similar childhood. It was a very, very abusive, very poor childhood, homeless a lot of times in my life, was living on the streets at the age of 13, just constantly bouncing from house to house, abusive parents, abusive relationships, all these different things that just, I continue to say, I'm going to continue to live with my heart on my sleeve. I'm going to continue to give the world the benefit of the doubt that it's okay that this happened to me, but I won't let this happen somewhere else. I will be that outlet for someone. And that's kind of how I lived my entire life. If it were taking care of friends' kids that didn't have something, or working to provide bills for my siblings or for families, or paying my way to go to prom because prom was important to me. All those different things. I think starting it out and just knowing that is what my purpose is to give back, even if it's to everyone else. Even though I was given hard, that's not fair that I give that or put that on someone else, I think has been my main focus. And so growing from that, having that happen to me, finding a relationship very young, becoming a mom very, very young. I turned to sports in high school because that was my constant, education and sports. That's all I had. And so it didn't matter where I was sleeping that night. I knew I could wake up, I would go to practice, I would go work out, and I would get my studies done. And that was end of the day for me. Once I lost the sports, it all just stopped. And so then I became a mom, and I 100% pour into that, continued with abusive relationships, even trying to raise my kids. And I finally was like, okay, this is not how hard life should be. Life should not be like this. And so it was making a change relationship-wise, finding myself, again, like you said, just reimagining who I want to be and who I am as a person, and then I became a 10 times better mom for it, finally doing that.
What, is there any moment, because usually there's a moment in time where when you go through it, like we went through it, it's so emotionally challenging that there's like these signature moments that end up happening. When I was 12 years old, my father's a big guy. He's 6'3", ex-professional athlete, really great. He's a McDonald's All-American basketball player, played the Detroit Tigers organization, 6'3", 220, just big guy. And he used to beat on my mom, and she would beat on him too. And I remember just always constantly hearing that. And I had these like little paper thin walls at my house, and I'm just hearing like the sounds of like connection and and like screaming and screeching, and one day I was 12, and I had enough. Like, you as a young guy, you maybe start to hit puberty a little bit, you get a little testosterone going, and I stepped up to my father one day. That's one thing that I knew. The next thing that I knew, I'm like on the floor, somebody's waking me up, and I was unconscious, and there was child abuse charges that day. And as I sat down and I watched my father getting taken away in a police car on my porch, I'll never forget it. It's like the classic scene where like the police officer like puts the blanket on the kid and sets him on a porch, and like there's another officer like, "It's okay, kid." It's like that to me, that moment in time for me, that was the emotional signature for me that said, "Hey, never again. Never will you be like this. Never will you follow this path. It is now you, yourself, and your creator, and you have one thing and one thing only, and that's the decisions that you get to make." And for me, that moment in time, like almost like metaphorically, I like was awake going into it, and I got knocked out, and then I'm on the other side of it, and I'm awake, and I'm a whole new person.
Yeah.
It's like that was really intense for me. So I was wondering if you had a story that that you'd be willing to share that can help people know that it's okay to share the things in their life that...
roughly around the same age, actually it was the age of 13, same thing. It was, you could hear it. I mean, we lived in a trailer. It was holes in the walls, holes in the floor, and weapons were then brought out, pointed in directions and it was like, and I actually lived next to my principal who lived across the street, really nice house. He heard it and walked over, and he is the one that pulled me out. Like, the principal of my school pulled me out of his house. And so it's like, people were starting to notice, people were starting to hear things and see things. And it was like my school was paying my bills. Like, I was in foster care multiple times in my life. And so they realized that wasn't helping because my mom kept getting me back, kept putting me in those situations. So at the age of 13, I lived with my principal for a year and a half. And I was the kid that was living with the school principal. And so to me, that right there, it was like, if God blessed me ever with having children, I would never allow this to happen. I would never allow that to happen. I love to go to school and pretend that nothing was going on. That when I went home, no matter what I went through that night, I would wake up at 6 a.m. the next morning. My life is perfection. Nothing's wrong with me. I am who I am. So.
But then society doesn't treat you like that.
No,
like
it does not.
The community around you, there's this inherited disrespect that you get when you're associated. Your last name is associated with people in the community, especially a small community, right?
Yep.
And
I graduated with 42 people.
Yeah, so even more. My town was a little bit bigger than that even, and you know, small town. Word travels fast and everybody knows everybody, and now all of a sudden it's like this, not only are you this young kid in this situation, but now it's like this unfair layer of judgment that's added to you because, oh, now I'm just like destined for the gutter like them.
Yes.
Like just because of my last name.
Yep.
You feel the same way?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's to the point even to this day, I never thought you could do that.
Yeah.
I never thought you were going to go here. I thought you were going to live in town all your whole life. Like when I moved away, it was like, you can't do that. You can't be capable. When I got the D1 scholarship, who paid for that? It was never what I was doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's frustrating.
It's so bad.
Yeah, no, but it's why I love, to me, like, respect is my number one love language.
Huge. Same.
Because I was so disrespected as a child by older adults. Like, if there's kids out there that are in your schools that are, their parents are bad people, that does not make them bad people. That does not make them a troublemaker just because their parents make trouble. And we should, I think, pull those kids in and show them the way more, rather than saying, oh, don't hang out with Devan, don't hang out with Kaytlan. They're the bad kids.
Yep.
Like, don't hang out with them. It's like, okay, you know, and then all of a sudden you're ruining the confidence of a 12-year-old kid.
Exactly, yes, 100%. Yeah.
So then you move forward, you lived with your principal for a couple years. What next?
Then it was my softball coaches, and they saw something in me, and honestly, it's just like with my owners here, it's just like they saw something in me, they knew what I was capable of, how I would bring the team together. I mean, I would stay after practices, here I say camps all the time, practices, I mean, for hours just doing sprints. I would try and get people to stay with us. I would do batting practices for people. And I mean, they poured into me just as much as I was pouring back in the team. We did not have we were never division champs. And I became varsity my freshman year, and we were division champs all 4 years. I mean, I don't know, it was just, they opened up a whole new world to me, and then it turned into friends. I lived with friends off and on, and then it turned into relationships. I would live with them, and then by the age of 16, I had my own place. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Look at you now.
Look at me now.
Let's go. Well, you have a responsibility for a community. Isn't that interesting how it flips?
It's insane.
Like chronically disrespected by the community and now revered by the community.
Yes, and they're literally.
And that's your choice, right?
100%.
So talk to us about choices, about how you made the decision to do that. Who were the first people that you mentioned? Your principal started to believe in you. Softball coaches, like you were independent enough to be on your own when you're 16.
Yeah, I think having someone on the outside that had nothing to do with me look into me so much, that is the choice every single day. When I have new members come in, they don't know who I am. Yeah. I don't know them. Yeah. But I take, like, for instance, our first focus meeting, I want to talk to you for 15 minutes. I want to know you. I want to know everything about you. I want to know what makes you tick, what makes you not. I mean, I choose this every day because they have no idea how much they mean to, like, I mean to them, they mean 10 times more to me. And because I didn't have a good community does not mean that I'm not going to give somebody a good community. I mean, we have members from really, really great to maybe they're having an off day. I want to meet them at any level they're at. And so I wasn't given back into. I wasn't poured into other than those select few people. And I've got 350 members I try and pour into every single one of them every single day. Because I never want someone to feel half of what I felt, half of it.
Do you have any story? I know you have a bunch of stories, but is there anybody that sticks out to you of somebody that you related to that maybe had some struggles and you were able to, maybe similar struggles to us, and that you're able to help push them over the edge?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a member, actually, she was here this afternoon, and she has talked about her mental illness, and I just didn't want to. And she is one of our deconditioned members, and I've told her my story. Like, I started 3 years ago, 300 pounds. I had to do a push-up against the wall. I had this life. I said, but you make the choice every day. It's not about motivation, it's about dedication. I mean, we can be motivated all day. I can tell you all the motivational quotes, but if you don't stay dedicated to showing up, and she goes, I stay just to get your high five. Like, that to me is why I'm coming in every day. It's what brings me that joy. It's what brings me back. It's not that I'm gonna get a good workout. I know that's gonna happen. I mean, that's my job to do. She goes, but when I walk in and when I leave, you've cared about me more than anybody in the world's cared about me. And to me, it's like, that's all I need.
Well, you're developing and fine-tuning your leadership craft, and people are recognizing that and gravitating toward you because of your capacity to lead them. Because everybody needs a leader. I need a leader. You need a leader. Everybody's got to have somebody as an example.
Yeah.
How do you think you've grown since becoming the lead trainer here? Like, you've had this journey of just overcoming things and growing. And I always say it's not about what you're getting, it's about who you're becoming. And obviously you're becoming and have became a stellar individual with stand-up character and all these things. Talk to me a little bit about that. What have you gained from a character standpoint? How have you sharpened your leadership game? And what does that mean to you in the future now that you're going to be able to compound these skills forever?
Yeah, honestly.
Your kids are young. I got a chance to meet them in Child Watch, and your daughter's beautiful. She looks just like you, by the way.
Just like me, doing push-ups. As simple as it is, it's confidence. Like, when I started at this location especially, I didn't want to be talked to. I beelined out of here. And Amy, the owner, she came up to me and goes, I think you have it in you to become a trainer. I would never, it was a dream. The minute I started Burn, I was like, one day I want to do this. One day I want to change someone's life the way they're changing mine. But I never thought it was going to be happening. And she took a chance on me. I put a mic on, and it was like, I never want to take it off. Like, I quit my corporate job to do this full time because this is everything. It built confidence in me. It took that self-doubt I think I've grown up with, saying that maybe they're right. I shouldn't have gotten what I've gotten, or I shouldn't have accomplished what I have, and turned it into, this isn't self-doubt, like, this is self-realization. Like, I am this person. I should give this back to this community. This community, it does deserve it. I deserve it. Like, I realize that what I deserve should be just as important what I think everybody else in the world deserves. I think.
I love that. You've thought a lot about this, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. It shows.
I feel like I was born to be in Burn.
Yeah. I feel like we're like in another life. We're probably related in some way. Yeah.
Brother?
Yeah. What? Energy? What?
Right?
I love your energy. And so as we get to the end of this here, thank you for sharing and being vulnerable, by the way. You have members all across Burn Nation who are here spending their time on their commute or their walk, and this is the mental reps for them, right? This is where they get to get outside of the four walls, and then, not that inside of the gym isn't active meditation and mental health and all the good things.
Right.
Like, it's like the vast majority of why people come here, right? Like, you barely hear, you barely hear anything physical. You just hear all of the mental barriers that we're able to overcome. But this is those mental reps that when we're outside of the gym, we get to keep this culture, of positivity and optimism on our minds. And so when you have the mic, you said you never wanted to put it down. So here's even a bigger microphone for you. Why don't you tell Burn Nation what is on your heart for them and what you hope for them in the future?
I think my biggest thing is to remember that at the end of the day, you can't give back what you don't have. And so when you think that you have to do this, you have to do that, I mean, you have to also look within. It's not selfish to say, I'm a mom, but I'm not just a mom. It's not selfish to say, I'm a business owner, but I'm not just that. I mean, you have to look within at the same point and put your hand up, give someone that energy, share your love for what you do every single day, share your love for who you are as a person, and just stop being so hateful in this world. I think is the biggest thing I'm gonna say is live your life with positivity, live your life knowing that you never know when it's gonna end. And it's not fair to give that judgment when someone might not need it, or you don't know what anyone's going through. So just constantly thinking about that and thinking about how you resonate to someone else or how you could change someone's day every single day.
Kaytlan, you're amazing. Thank you so much for being here today. I know Burn Nation took all the gold nuggets away from that.
Thanks.
And hey, Burn Bootcamp Rock Hill, if you want to follow their community, you can go to Instagram and follow Rock Hill. And we just love having you. You make our organization better.
Thanks.
We're leveling the standard up with you in lead trainer position here, and I know that your team really loves you too. And we have a little audience in the studio today. That's how much they love you. Well, listen, everybody. Thanks for being here. We appreciate and respect your time. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here listening to Kaytlan and I just have a conversation. We hope you took a lot away from this. Make sure you do leave that review, flex on that subscribe button, and we're gonna end it like we always do. But this time, I'm gonna let you do it. Okay, go ahead.
Let's go, Bird Nation. 2 claps on 2, 1, 2. Yeah.